He told us he didn't need our wealth. He swore he was above it all. But while we believed him, he was snatching it, grabbing it, and running with it. In the once thriving kingdom of Baallablue, the people lived by an old saying, "What is promised must be delivered." Generations of leaders had upheld this principle, ensuring the kingdom's prosperity and peace. But that changed the moment Banjaaga, an aging leader with a silver tongue, took the throne. Banjaaga was old, far older than any ruler Baallablue had ever known. His frailty, trembling hands, and slow gait made him seem harmless, even wise. And with a voice so smooth and a promise so grand, he convinced the people that he didn't need their wealth. "I've lived through the rise and fall of empires," he said. "I have no need for riches. My only goal is to restore Baallablue to its former glory. For you, not for me." His words were honey to the ears of the people, and they cheered for him. How could a man so close to the end of his life possibly want to steal from them? His advanced age made him seem above corruption, and his promises of a brighter future resonated deeply with a kingdom in need of hope. But behind the facade of his frailty, Banjaaga was as sharp and cunning as any leader in his prime. And what the people didn't realize was that while they cheered for him, Banjaaga had already begun snatching their wealth, grabbing what he could, and running with it. In the beginning, Banjaaga's promises filled the kingdom with hope. The roads, which had been falling apart, were supposed to be repaired. The once bustling oil wells were to gush with wealth again, bringing prosperity to every corner of Baallablue. Food markets, which had been dwindling, were expected to overflow with produce, and the people were told that soon they would be able to live comfortably once more. However, as the months dragged on, the promised improvements never came. Roads remained broken, oil production slowed to a trickle, and families struggled to put food on their tables. Rumors began to spread among the people. Lade, a young activist with a keen sense of justice, was one of the first to voice his concerns openly. At a town hall meeting, Lade stood before a crowd of restless citizens and asked the question on everyone's mind. "Banjaaga, where are the roads you promised? Where is the food for our families? Why are the oil wells drying up?" Banjaaga, seated on his grand throne, waved his frail hand dismissively. "It is not me who is holding back the wealth," he said. "There are forces within the kingdom, people from the north and the south, who are blocking progress. They do not want Baallablue to succeed." His words sowed discord among the people. Northerners began blaming Southerners for the shortages. The East accused the West of hoarding resources. Ethnic, regional, and political divides deepened, and soon the kingdom was consumed by internal conflict. And all the while, Banjaaga remained on his throne, smiling softly as the people turned against one another. While the people fought amongst themselves, Banjaaga was quietly selling Baalablue's resources to foreign interests. Under the cover of darkness, foreign ships arrived at the kingdom's docks, filled to the brim with Baalablue's oil and minerals. Banjaaga had struck deals with foreign powers, offering them the kingdom's wealth at dirt-cheap prices, lining his own pockets in the process. The wealth that could have built roads, schools, and hospitals was siphoned into secret accounts overseas. Grand mansions were built in faraway lands under Banjaaga's name, far from the eyes of his people. He had snatched their wealth, grabbed it, and was running with it, all while the people of Baallablue were too distracted by their internal strife to notice. Hey, I appreciate your sticking with me through this amazing story. If you're enjoying it, a quick like will really help others find and enjoy it too. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so don't forget to comment. And if this story touched you, Share it with someone special. They deserve to hear it too. Now let's jump back into the tale. Grand mansions were built in faraway lands under Banjaaga's name, far from the eyes of his people. He had snatched their wealth, grabbed it, and was running with it, all while the people of Baallablue were too distracted by their internal strife to notice. It wasn't until Lade and a group of young activists began investigating that the truth came to light. As they scoured public records and whispered with insiders who had once worked for Banjaaga, they began to piece together a disturbing picture. What they discovered was worse than anything they had imagined. Banjaaga hadn't just been mismanaging the kingdom's resources. He had been selling them off in secret, profiting while the kingdom crumbled. Lade and his group of investigators gathered the evidence: hidden contracts, foreign bank records, and witness statements. "We've been divided for too long," Lade told his fellow activists. "If we don't act now, Baallablue will fall." They knew they had to act quickly. Gathering the people of Baallablue, Lade stood in the town square with the evidence in hand. "People of Baallablue," he shouted, "we have been deceived. Banjaaga told us he didn't need our wealth, but while we fought amongst ourselves, he was snatching it, grabbing it, and running with it." The crowd fell silent as Lade revealed the truth. The oil hadn't stopped flowing. It was being sold to foreign powers. The wealth hadn't disappeared. It was being hoarded by Banjaaga. The people had been tricked into blaming each other, while the real enemy sat in the palace, growing richer by the day. The weight of betrayal settled on the people. They had trusted Banjaaga, believed his words, and now they realized they had been fooled. As anger replaced confusion, the people of Baallablue united once more, not against each other, but against the man who had betrayed them all. As the people marched to Banjaaga's palace, demanding justice, they found the gates shut and the palace eerily silent. The once grand halls, filled with opulence, were now empty. Banjaaga had fled, disappearing into the night with what remained of Baalablue's wealth. The people were left standing in the ruins of their kingdom, betrayed and broken. But instead of descending into despair, they chose to rebuild. Led by Lade and a new council of young leaders, they worked together to restore Baallablue, reclaiming the oil wells and rebuilding the infrastructure that had crumbled under Banjaaga's rule. Though the people of Baallablue had begun to rebuild, Banjaaga's betrayal left a dark shadow over the kingdom. Rumors swirled that he had fled to a distant land, living in luxury while his people suffered. Some said that he had been spotted on foreign soil, building a new empire for himself. Others believed he had died in exile, his ill-gotten wealth useless in the face of his declining health. But even as the people rebuilt their kingdom, there was one thing they could never forget: the lesson Banjaaga had taught them. Trust was a fragile thing, and power, in the wrong hands, could corrupt even the most seemingly innocent leader. Years passed, and the kingdom of Baallablue slowly began to heal. Under the guidance of young leaders like Lade, roads were rebuilt, schools reopened, and the oil wells, once a symbol of greed and betrayal, were reclaimed to benefit the people. Baallablue was rising from the ashes of its past, yet the memory of Banjaaga's treachery lingered like a dark cloud over the land. Despite their progress, whispers of Banjaaga's whereabouts never fully faded. Some said he had grown too sick to enjoy his wealth, rotting away in an unknown land. Others claimed he had died, but that his ghost would one day return to haunt the kingdom he had betrayed. Then, one day, a mysterious visitor arrived in the capital. Dressed in tattered rags and with a face hidden behind a hood, the stranger claimed to have vital information. The visitor was brought before Lade and the council of Baalablue's new leaders, who had grown weary of the rumors, but were curious enough to listen. I know where Banjaaga is, the stranger said, his voice low and hoarse. He lives, but not in luxury. He is hiding, waiting for the right moment to return. Lade, now a wise and respected leader, narrowed his eyes. What do you mean by return? Banjaaga is an old man. What power could he possibly have left? The stranger chuckled darkly. You underestimate him. He may be weak, but his mind is sharp as ever. He has not forgotten Baallablue, and he still believes the kingdom is his to rule. He has been watching, waiting for the right time to strike. The people's trust in you will be his greatest weapon. Lade's heart sank. The thought of Banjaaga's return, after all the kingdom had suffered, filled him with dread. But before he could ask any more questions, the stranger turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving only a trail of uncertainty behind. Over the next few weeks, strange things began to happen across Baallablue. Reports of missing resources, unexplained fires in oil fields, and whispers of rebellion spread through the kingdom. Lade and the council grew alarmed. It seemed that Banjaaga's influence, though unseen, was still poisoning their land. Determined to uncover the truth, Lade and a group of trusted allies set out on a journey to track down Banjaaga once and for all. They followed the trail of rumors, venturing far beyond the borders of Baallablue to foreign lands where Banjaaga was said to have hidden his stolen wealth. They traveled through harsh deserts, across treacherous seas, and into foreign cities where Banjaaga's name was spoken only in hushed tones. Finally, in a small coastal town far from Baallablue, they found him. Banjaaga, once the mighty ruler of Baallablue, was now a shell of his former self. His frail body was racked with illness, and his once sweet voice was now raspy and weak. But his eyes still gleamed with the cunning of a man who had never let go of his thirst for power. So, Banjaaga croaked as Lade approached him, you've come to finish what I started. Lade stood tall before the fallen ruler. I've come to bring you back to Baallablue to face justice. The people deserve to know the truth. Banjaaga laughed bitterly. The truth? The truth is, the people of Baallablue were always weak. They trusted me because they wanted to believe in something bigger than themselves. They were too blind to see the truth, even when it was right in front of them. And you, Lade, you think you can save them. You're just like me. You'll see how quickly power corrupts, how trust crumbles. Lade's heart raced, but he refused to be swayed by Banjaaga's words. You've lost, Banjaaga. Baallablue is rebuilding, and the people are stronger than you ever gave them credit for. Is that so? Banjaaga sneered. Then why have you come all this way to find me? You're afraid. You fear that the people will see you for who you really are, just another leader who will fail them. You may think you've won, but as long as I live, Baallablue will never be free from my shadow. Lade knew he could not let Banjaaga's poison spread any further. But taking him back to Baallablue meant risking a resurgence of the old divisions, the same fears and doubts that had once torn the kingdom apart. Could they ever truly move forward with Banjaaga still alive, still scheming? That night, as Lade and his allies rested before returning to Baallablue, a fierce storm rolled in from the sea. Thunder crashed, and lightning split the sky, illuminating the small coastal town where Banjaaga lay waiting for his fate. Lade, unable to sleep, stood by the shore, his mind swirling with questions. Was it justice to bring Banjaaga back? Or would it be a greater act of mercy to leave him in exile, far from the kingdom he had once ruled with deceit? As the storm raged on, Lade felt the weight of the future pressing down on him. Banjaaga had taken so much from the people, and yet, in his final days, he had nothing left but bitterness and hate. Could such a man ever be held accountable for his crimes? Or was his punishment already written in his isolation and brokenness? At dawn, Lade made his decision. He returned to the place where Banjaaga lay, frail and fading, and stood over him one last time. "You will not come back to Baallablue," Lade said, his voice steady. "You've done enough damage. This is where your story ends." Banjaaga's eyes, once filled with malice, softened for a brief moment. He gave a slow nod, as if acknowledging the end of a long and bitter journey. "Perhaps it's better this way," he whispered. "Perhaps the kingdom is better off without me." Lade and his allies returned to Baallablue without Banjaaga, but they carried with them the knowledge that the kingdom's greatest battle was not against any one man, but against the forces of division and corruption that had once torn them apart. In the years that followed, Baallablue flourished. The people, united by the trials they had endured, built a new future together, one rooted in transparency, justice, and accountability. And though Banjaaga's name was never forgotten, it became a symbol of the past, a reminder of what could happen if they ever allowed themselves to be divided again. Lade, now an elder statesman, often sat beneath the great Iroko tree in the heart of the capital, telling the younger generation the story of Banjaaga. "He taught us a valuable lesson," Lade would say. "Trust is precious. Power, if left unchecked, can destroy even the strongest of kingdoms. But as long as we remain united, no one, no matter how cunning, can ever snatch away our future." And so, the kingdom of Baallablue lived on, stronger and wiser, a testament to the power of unity and the enduring strength of the people. Moral of the story: in life, there are always those who will try to snatch, grab, and run with what isn't theirs, thinking they can take what they want without consequence. But as the people of Baallablue discovered, no one can hold on to what truly belongs to the people. When we stand together, our unity becomes a force stronger than any greed or betrayal. Trust isn't something to be taken lightly or stolen. It's something earned, and once broken, it changes everything. Remember, when we're united, no one can grab or snatch away what's meant for us. Together, we are unbreakable. Thank you for watching. I am Madu Black, and this is Africa Folktales and Legends. If you have made it this far with us, ensure to subscribe, like, comment, and share the story on your social media platforms, and do turn on notifications so you'll know right away when I drop more amazing stories. I really appreciate all your support. Quite overwhelming. It means a lot to me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.